The Galactic Empire loomed large, a monolithic force that spanned across countless systems, crushing any who dared oppose its will. Its influence stretched from the glittering heart of its capital to the farthest reaches of the galaxy, and its soldiers were feared for their ruthless efficiency, advanced technology, sophisticated tactics, and unrelenting discipline made them nearly invincible. In their eyes, the universe was a system to be controlled, its people to be ruled. Rebellions were crushed with brutal precision, and no planet was too distant or obscure to escape the Empire's iron grip. But there was one thing they never counted on: a human soldier who wasn't what they thought. Humans were often underestimated by the galactic empires that came and went. In the eyes of most alien species, they were primitive, barely capable of surviving against advanced technologies. They were seen as weak, limited by their physicality, outclassed by the machines and genetic enhancements that other species boasted. The Empire viewed humans as inconsequential, a species that was better suited for menial labor and defense than for anything more substantial. They were wrong. This particular human soldier, however, was not just another face in the crowd. He had been trained not by any military academy or conventional force, but by the underworld, a covert organization that hired him for one singular purpose: to eliminate targets without question. He had no need for a name, no loyalty to any nation, no alliances beyond his own code. He was a weapon, honed to perfection, a ghost in the dark. To those who hired him, he was an asset. To those who were targeted by him, he was a nightmare. He had no rival. His reputation was built on an uncanny ability to strike without leaving a trace, an indelible mark of death where none saw it coming. His latest mission brought him close to the very heart of the Empire's domain. He had been hired by a rebel faction to infiltrate a high-security Imperial installation, a mission that required stealth, precision, and absolute control. But the soldier was too good. The Empire knew nothing of him. In fact, they didn't even know they were being targeted until it was too late. They had underestimated the potential of a lone human, and now they were about to find out how wrong they were. The soldier had never intended to be captured, but fate had other plans. His mission had been compromised. An unexpected confrontation led to a violent clash with the Empire's security forces. Despite his skill and cunning, the soldier was eventually overwhelmed. The Empire had set a trap for him, and like any seasoned operative, he had walked right into it. Now, instead of carrying out a covert operation, he was imprisoned, a mere pawn in their eyes. They couldn't fathom that they had captured a ghost, one who would be anything but easy to deal with. To the Empire, the soldier's capture was a routine matter. A lowly human soldier, perhaps an infiltrator or an unimportant rebel agent. Just another dissident to be interrogated, subdued, and forgotten. His value was reduced to a mere asset for intelligence, a source of information that would no doubt yield trivial results. They never imagined that their greatest mistake was already standing in front of them. The soldier sat in the holding cell, silent, his eyes calculating the situation with cold precision. His mind worked over the escape options, every possibility running through his head, every inch of the facility already mapped in his mind. He had been in worse situations before, but this was different. Here, in the heart of the Empire, his mission had taken a different turn. He wasn't just a prisoner. He was now a threat, and the Empire didn't even know it. Around him, the Empire's officers and guards discussed their next moves. Some of them regarded him with disdain, others with curiosity. He had yet to reveal the full extent of his abilities, but his posture, his unshaken composure, told them that this was no ordinary prisoner. Still, they believed they had him cornered. What could a single human possibly do against the might of the Empire? One officer, a seasoned veteran, watched the prisoner with a growing sense of unease. There was something unsettling about him, something in his eyes. Perhaps it was just the tension of the situation, but there was an edge to him, a coldness that made the officer's instincts twitch. But no one in the Empire had ever been concerned by a single human before. They were all the same, weak, malleable, easily broken under pressure. As they prepared for the inevitable interrogation, they couldn't know that they had already made their first fatal mistake. They had underestimated him. In doing so, they had unwittingly set the stage for something far greater than they could imagine. The soldier was no mere prisoner, no helpless target. He was a human, and he was about to show them the price of underestimating humanity. The Empire's interrogation methods were cold and methodical. They began with simple questions, probing for information about the human soldier's origins, his mission, and any networks he might be tied to. The soldier remained silent, his mind as sharp as ever, scanning for weaknesses in the Empire's procedures. Each time the officers tried to break him, he endured, showing no signs of distress. He knew that this was merely a game, one he had played countless times before. But now, the stakes were different. He wasn't simply escaping the clutches of an underworld cartel or a local faction. He was up against the full weight of the Empire. They used physical pain, psychological manipulation, and threats of violence to try and extract answers from him. But the soldier remained unbroken. Each time they thought they had found an opening, he closed it, never giving them anything substantial. His resolve was absolute. His will stronger than any pain they could inflict. The more they pushed, the more they revealed their own weaknesses. Arrogance, impatience, and a deep underestimation of what a human was capable of. They were used to dealing with prisoners who broke easily, whether through fear or physical suffering. But this soldier didn't respond the way they expected. His silence unnerved them. The longer they tried to break him, the more they realized that they weren't dealing with an ordinary prisoner. He wasn't a rebel or a captured soldier. They could sense something else, something dangerous beneath his stoic exterior. Despite their advanced methods, despite their technology, they could not find a chink in his armor. His ability to remain calm, unyielding, made them question everything they knew about their enemies. If this was the typical human soldier, then perhaps they had underestimated the species as a whole. But even though the Empire's forces were beginning to recognize the soldier's unusual strength, they were determined not to let him slip through their grasp. They switched tactics, trying psychological manipulation. They employed various agents to speak with him, attempting to break him through disorientation, deception, and confusion. They wanted him to feel helpless, to start doubting his own purpose. But the soldier had seen it all before. He was used to being outnumbered, outclassed. He knew how to endure. He wasn't simply waiting for his chance to escape. He was studying them, learning how the Empire operated, how their systems were structured. They had underestimated him, but they were about to realize just how wrong they were. While they thought he was broken, the soldier had already begun his plan. He had no intentions of staying a prisoner. Every word they spoke, every move they made, was information, clues that would help him make his escape. He had seen how the guards interacted, noticed inconsistencies in their routines, and tracked the patterns of their patrols. They believed he was simply awaiting his fate. But his mind was already working a step ahead, anticipating their next move. To them, he was a pawn. To him, they were the ones who were being played. In a quiet moment of solitude, the soldier took a mental inventory of the facility. He could feel the limits of his constraints. The guards, the security systems, the sensors, but nothing was impenetrable. Every system had weaknesses, and every lock could be picked. He was a man who had lived on the edge of survival his entire life, and his ability to adapt to any situation was unmatched. He was biding his time, waiting for the right moment to strike. The Empire's arrogance had blinded them to the truth. They had captured more than a prisoner. They had captured a ghost, and Ghost didn't get caught. The Empire's officers grew frustrated, but still, they didn't understand. They believed they could crush his spirit, intimidate him into submission, but they were facing an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. The soldier wasn't just physically tough. He was mentally unbreakable. He wasn't afraid of pain, of isolation, or even of death. He had faced all of those things and more. The true danger he posed was something the Empire wasn't prepared for: his ability to outlast, outthink, and outfight his captors. But even as the soldier played the waiting game, A sense of tension began to build inside him. Time was running out, and he couldn't afford to remain in captivity for much longer. The Empire was growing more desperate, more insistent. They would eventually get more aggressive in their attempts to break him, and when that time came, he had to be ready. He had been trained for moments like this. His escape wasn't just a matter of breaking free. It was a matter of taking everything the Empire had thrown at him and using it against them. He had no illusions about the difficulty of his task. He knew that breaking out of the Empire's grip wouldn't be easy, but he also knew that it was inevitable. The more they underestimated him, the more he gathered the strength to act. And when he did, it would not be a simple escape. He wouldn't just run. He would make them understand the cost of underestimating humanity. The first phase of his plan was already in motion. Survive. The next phase would be much more satisfying. The soldier's moment came unexpectedly, like the calm before a storm. The Empire's confidence in its control over him blinded them to the fact that he was waiting for the right opportunity. When it arrived, he didn't hesitate. In an instant, the careful patience he had cultivated through months of captivity was replaced by the calculated efficiency of someone who had spent a lifetime executing impossible missions. The soldier moved swiftly and decisively, taking advantage of the smallest gaps in the Empire's defenses. The chaos he unleashed was swift and brutal. The guards, unprepared for the sudden onslaught, were overwhelmed by his speed and precision. He fought with an economy of movement, targeting weak points, incapacitating anyone who stood in his way. His training, honed through years of combat and covert operations, made him a shadow of death. Every strike was purposeful, every action deliberate. There was no hesitation, no wasted effort, only the result. The Empire's high-tech security systems were no match for his ingenuity. While the Empire relied on advanced technology to keep their prisoners in check, they had forgotten one fundamental truth. Technology was only as good as the people using it. The soldier was a force of nature, and no amount of high-tech surveillance could predict or stop his actions. As he moved through the facility, he exploited the smallest of weaknesses. A door left unlocked, a guard distracted, a security protocol left in disarray. Each minor error was an opportunity. The soldier didn't just escape. He dismantled the very system that had captured him. The Empire's officers, still believing that they had the situation under control, were blindsided by the sudden, ruthless attack. They scrambled to react, but they were already outmatched. He had studied them, their routines, their responses. They had underestimated him at every turn, and now the consequences were unfolding before their eyes. The soldier was more than a prisoner escaping. He was a symbol of human resilience, of an indomitable will that refused to be broken, even in the face of overwhelming odds. His escape wasn't just a personal victory. It was a message. The Empire had thought it could control him, crush him, break him. Instead, it had unleashed a nightmare. The soldier's escape was just the beginning. The Empire's overconfidence would soon give way to the realization that they had never truly controlled him. His mind, sharp as ever, had been playing a long game all along. His body had been the bait, but his mind had been calculating every step of the way. The soldier's mission shifted. It was no longer about escaping captivity. It was about exacting vengeance. The Empire had made a critical error by underestimating humanity, and now it was going to pay. He wasn't just a prisoner. He was a weapon, and he was going to use everything at his disposal to make sure the Empire understood that they had made the wrong calculation. Every move he made, every decision, was aimed at one thing: sending a clear message. They had thought he was just a lowly prisoner, but they had been wrong. And now they would face the consequences of that mistake. As he closed in on the Empire's leaders, the final confrontation was inevitable. The officers, who had once believed they were in control, now realized that they were dealing with someone far more dangerous than they had anticipated. They tried to mount a defense, but it was too late. The soldier was already upon them, relentless and unforgiving. They were no match for the ruthless precision of his attacks. He moved through their defenses like a ghost, striking swiftly and decisively. It was not just an escape, it was a reckoning. In the end, it was clear to the Empire that they had underestimated the soldier's true nature. They had believed their technological superiority and overwhelming force would be enough to break him. But the soldier wasn't just a man. He was the embodiment of human ingenuity, resilience, and strength. He had proven that no matter the odds, no matter the technology, humanity could survive, adapt, and overcome. The message was simple: never underestimate humanity. It was a mistake the Empire would never make again, but by then, it would be too late. The soldier had already left his mark, a lasting reminder that humans were a force to be reckoned with.